Okay, so right around the time of early 2001, there was a game called Super Smash Bros. Melee that was released for for the Nintendo GameCube. You might remember the characters from Super Smash Bros. Melee. These are all the characters unlocked. You might notice Roy and Marth, or Marth and Roy. Well, at the time when, if you look at everybody else on this roster, you know, everybody remembers these guys. But when Roy and Marth hit the Western audience, these were two characters that no one had ever seen before. As you can see on the left, this is Roy holding what is known as the Sword of Seals, or the Sword of Hamilton, if you ever play Super Smash or Fire Emblem. This is Marth, who's holding the falchion blade. You can't see it because it's kind of cut out. But a lot of people, when they played Super Smash Bros. Melee, a lot of people the characters were like really good at this game, and like their voice actors were in Japanese, and they still remained in Japanese. But a lot of people, like, you know, it was like their favorite characters. Like some of them were, and, you know. Eventually, Roy and Marth had a fan base in the Western audience before anybody even knew what series they really pertained to. Straight from Super Smash Bros. Melee's trophy collection, it says Fire Emblem only. Now, this would actually go on to be the Fire Emblem series. This is actually Fire Emblem 1 and Fire Emblem 3 it refers to, if I got this right. It says Marth is the Prince of Altea, and those in the veins whose the blood runs of the hero, and he and a small group of stewards fought to free Altea after it was invaded by the Dark Kingdom. The Dark Kingdom of Duluna, and the dragon Medius with his divine sword Falchion. He fought and defeated Medius. However, I don't know why Google keeps doing this. Altea was invaded by the king. Was then invaded by the king of Hardin of Achaea and eventually destroyed. So that was Fire Emblem. I think it's either 2 or 3. I always forget because I get the first 5 confused. And the first 5 games, well, technically 6, on the Game Boy Advance. The 6th one was on the Game Boy Advance. Was not released outside of Japan, at least. And it still hasn't been, but all the Fire Emblem games have eventually been translated by fans, which is actually really good. Can't find the picture on the internet, so this is just the actual definition of it. But Roy is the son of the Lord of Farare Principality. Roy was studying in Ostia when the Kingdom of Bern invaded the Legion of Alesia. His father fell ill at this time, so Roy assumed leadership of the Furia's army after his fateful meeting with the Princess Guinevere. His destiny became inexcusable, linked with the fate of the entire continent. And again, Fire Emblem 6 is the one with Roy in it. Now, mind you, when this game came out, this was the game that was technically supposed to be the first game in the Western audience. Now, I'm surprised the other games weren't released, but at the time, when the game came out, they pulled it off the shelves, sort of, because they didn't think it'd sell well. But then the next game, Fire Emblem 7, which was technically the first one in the States, the one with Ninian, Nils, Eliwood, Lynn, and Hector as the lords, and Nurgle as the. So that is actually supposed to be Fire Emblem 7, and that is actually supposed to be the one with that takes place 20 years before Fire Emblem 6 does, or something like that. And then Fire Emblem 6 takes place years after that, which is actually really cool. This is Fire Emblem 7, just in case you're not familiar with it. Now, there's a bunch of people that have made custom cartridges in this day and age, but this is essentially what Fire Emblem 6 would have looked like on the Western audiences. But this is just to pull up I'll show you what the Japanese box art looks like. And then here we have the legendary Fire Emblem 6 box art for the Super. As you can see, there's Roy holding the Sword of Seals. Again, if you've never played Fire Emblem 6, but you've played Fire Emblem 7, this game is going to make a lot of sense to you. You might remember Fire Emblem 7. There was King Zephyl, or Prince Zephyl at the time, well, here he is grown up. He's kind of hard to see. And then there's this woman in the background by the name of Ideen or Idoun. It's spelled I-D-O-U-N. Japanese is a little... I mean, if you know English, Japanese is really easy to pronounce. And this is supposed to be Lillian. Yeah, Lillian. The priestess of Ostia. So Roy and her are really good friends. And even though this is just kind of off topic, this is Fire Emblem 8, the Sword of Seals, or the Sacred Stones, rather. Again, for the Game Boy Advance. Alright, so here we go. This is Fire Emblem 6, Fuuin no Tsurugi, which translates to the Sword of Seals. This is the game that was never released outside of Japan. So what you're seeing now is pretty much giving you like an opening intro about like what has happened up until this point. Again, Fire Emblem 7 pretty much explains everything, but there's a lot of details that are left out too. Fire Emblem 6 does an excellent job explaining. But what's funny though is that intro, what you're seeing right now, I'll translate it, but essentially what it is, even in the English patch, they never translated this. They left it out. They took it out. Not sure why. I guess maybe they couldn't figure out how to put it there. But I mean, you just got to find the patches in the game, or the coding, and it's already linked there. You just got to change the variables, which show the text that's coming in. But now, what do we do? And if you look very closely, there's a dragon in the background. I'm just going to stop talking for a second. Okay, so Fire Emblem 6, that essentially gave you kind of an intro of like some of the enemies, some of the map characters that you're going to find. Now, what's really funny though about this game is that if you watch this intro and then you watch it again, well, technically you can skip it. I'm surprised I can't do that. The emulator must have reset my controls. Oh, damn it. Well, anyways, I'll just give me some more time to explain this. Anyways, what happens is the game is actually going to show you kind of like an intro movie based on some of the maps in the game, and they're going to kind of give you a little history of like what's going on. It's kind of like a prologue. There's like 3 types of prologues in this game. There's they're going to show you what's happening like just before the Kingdom of Burn starts invading all of the content Elbe, which is essentially where Fire Emblem 6 takes place at. The world of Elbe. So, again, we gotta do this again. But again, this game, like I said, if you're a Fire Emblem fan and you've never played the first 6 Fire Emblem games, I mean, okay, you got Shadow Dragon on the Nintendo DS, and that's been translated, which, I recommend playing it. I mean, I know some people said they didn't like it, but, these games are fun, though. They really are. So, okay, so here we have, that is Chapter 14 in Fire Emblem 7, if I'm not mistaken, so that should look very familiar. You're going to notice some of the levels are going to look sort of familiar in some aspects. So, this is Roy and Marcus, they're sparring. He's telling Roy that lances are better than swords. You got what is known as the weapons triangle. Again, Fire Emblem games are typically turn-based RPGs, JRPGs. This is Alan and Lance. I forget which one's which. I think it's the one on the left is Alan and the one on the right is Lance. which is kind of ironic because he uses lances to fight, which are spears. They talk about how like there's a war going on and how it's about to break out even further. So here's another chapter in the game, and that's Walt, who just attacked. If you remember Fire Emblem 7, there's a lot of romantic pairings that the characters got near the end of the game that you could technically say like these are the children of Fire Emblem 7. Some of them were never mentioned in Fire Emblem 7, and it's debatable what really happened to them. Because what's really interesting is Fire Emblem 6 came out before 7 did, but 7 takes place before the timeline. So like when 7 came out, it was pretty much just a prequel to 7. So what happened to all these kids, most of them you never really heard what happened to them. There's Zephyl, and then there's this is the Kingdom of Burr. This is gonna come into play later on. This is actually pretty freaking cool. You fight Burn inside the castle. This is why I think Fire Emblem 6 was better than Fire Emblem 7 in some cases, and we're going to explain why, because I've played this game like almost 100-something times, and I'm not kidding you when I say I've literally beat it so many times that I understand where everything's at.